Hello there and welcome to episode 12 of my FA Cup journey so far, featuring my 13th game in this season's competition. I honestly can't believe I've actually got this far. For the penultimate episode, it's semi-final time. Well, actually, not straight away. Before watching a match, I had a match to play in myself. Away at Fleet Spurs Vets for Farnham Town Vets. What a lovely day for it, eh? Beautiful. It was absolutely roasting. I came off just before half time as I was knackered.
Go on.
Unfortunately, we lost 3-1, but you're not here for this game. You're here for this. Nottingham Forest v Manchester City. I'd driven up to Wembley straight after my game and arrived about 2.5 hours before kickoff. It was already buzzing, with Forest fans appearing to far outnumber City fans, Wembley Way mostly a sea of red. As usual, I picked up a programme, followed by a late lunch, as I continued to take in the atmosphere outside this iconic stadium. I caught a glimpse of a few City players getting on their team bus. Mad how they still need to get a bus from the hotel to the ground when it's about a 4-minute walk, but security, I guess. It was time for me to head in as well. Boom, I was in. I was still hungry, so got some more food before taking my seat. I was on the Man City side of the stadium, but in more of a family-friendly area. The lineups for each side were read out by the announcers, as the atmosphere within the stadium continued to build. The Forest fans were in full voice, drowning out those in blue. Overall, I thought they put the City fans to shame, actually. It was almost time for kickoff, as each set of fans raised their respective flags. Then out came the players. And we were off in this season's penultimate FA Cup game. It didn't take long for action, with Rico Lewis putting the citizens ahead in just the second minute. It was one-way traffic for most of the half. Attack after attack for City. But they were finding it hard to penetrate the Forest backline again. Every time City would play down the channels, their wingers would cut inside and lose it, or cut back and remove almost all the pace and urgency from the move. After a bright start, it was becoming an increasingly frustrating watch. Not to mention on top of that, almost every time Forest had a rare attack in the first half, someone was offside. Half-time finally came, and to be honest, at this point I was wishing I'd gone to the Palace Villa game the day before instead. The players were back out, and we were underway again. A bit of drama early on in the second half. The blue side wanting a penalty there for handball. As far away as I was, it did look like handball to me, but the officials deemed the defender's hand to be in a natural position. Not that that really mattered, as from the resulting corner, Josko Gvardiol put City 2-0 up. For a split second it looked like Forest were going to pull one back when Morgan Gibbs-White hit a sweet volley, but it smashed the underside of the bar and came back out. A mix-up in the City defence almost gifted Forest the lifeline, but they hit the post this time. It just wasn't their day. I mentioned earlier about the Forest fans out-singing the City fans, and I noticed there were a relatively large amount of empty seats on the blue side of Wembley on Sunday. This was directly in front of me, and there were pockets like this everywhere you looked. To any Man City fans watching, why do you think that is? Do you think it's because City have been to Wembley so many times in the last decade that it's almost a bit of Wembley fatigue? Combine that with the cost of the tickets and getting to the final, the whole day out in general, and the fact that it's not actually the final, that maybe it's not worth the expense, especially when you've seen your team play at Wembley multiple times. Out of the 4 semi-finalists, City sold the least amount of tickets, 27,000. Compare that to 34,000 for Villa, 35,500 for Palace, and 36,000 for Forest. Those are approximate numbers, by the way. I know for those teams it's a lot rarer to get to Wembley, and I don't mean that in a condescending way, that is just statistically how it is. So naturally you'll get more of those fan bases shelling out the money for a day such as the Sunday just gone. There were still a lot of people there, but it was hardly a sellout, which was a shame to see for an FA Cup semi-final. But as I've covered, if you've seen your team do this many times already, then I guess I could see how it can lose its impact. I know there's a lot of opposition to having the semi-finals at Wembley. If your team gets to the final, it kind of, takes away some of the prestige because you've already seen your team play there in the previous round. And as evidence from Sunday, it can take away from the semis themselves as well, because people are less inclined to turn up if they think they're going to go there again for the final. But on the flip side, it gives more teams the opportunity to play at Wembley and for their fans to witness that. Anyway, honestly, overall this game was dull. For all of Man City's brilliance under Pep Guardiola, this was a pale imitation of what we've seen over the past 8 to 9 years. The same style, but executed in a far less visually appealing manner. All in all, it was a bit underwhelming. So underwhelming that I left early to beat the crowds out and the traffic. I know, sacrilege I hear you say, but if I get a ticket to the final, I will not be leaving early, no matter how bad the game is. Next up as usual, it's time to talk about prize money. How much did each club receive in prize money for the semi-finals? Well, after having 3 rounds without any runners-up figures, we're back to having a figure for both the winners and the losers. Man City received £1 million, which was a 122% increase on the previous round, while Nottingham Forest received £500,000. 13 games down, 1 more to go. I'm almost there. When I get through the turnstiles again at Wembley, that's going to be a very special moment for me. But until then, as usual, wish me luck in getting a ticket. Have a good one, and I'll see you next time for the final episode in this series.